Yo, what's up, you guys? All right, let's talk about turning in the backswing. I'd say one of the top tier things that I'm doing during a lesson is I'm teaching people how to rotate, especially their upper body. And oftentimes when players come in and they're not turning their upper body, you see a couple of symptoms. Number one, you notice you're not turning very much. When you go to the top of your swing, the right shoulder is very visible on this side of your body. The left shoulder is on this side of your head, as opposed to when you turn, the shoulder's getting more underneath your head, the trail shoulder's disappearing or even starting to reappear on the other side of your body. Those are symptoms that you've turned more. And if you look down the line, players who don't turn their body, they lose a lot of depth. Their hands are very much in front of them. If you were to draw a line straight down from the butt end of their club down to the ground, their hands and their club would be more over their balls of their feet, more over their toes in this direction, which primes you to come over the top or do something like early extend or tilt in the downswing to try and shift your club on plane. We want to have some depth where the hands and the club are more behind us over here if we want to naturally swing more from the inside. The more we naturally swing from the inside, the better position we are in to rotate our body in the downswing. Now, not everybody has to have a crazy rotated and a crazy shallow swing in the downswing, but having some rotation generally is a good thing. So having depth in the backswing sets us up for that. The other thing you'll notice when players don't turn, maybe this applies to you, is the arms get very narrow. The trail arm gets very bent. The right arm, trail arm, might even chicken wing behind you up in this direction. The arms are splitting apart because of that chicken wing. And the biggest sign, besides just seeing how much your body is turning, is this lead left arm starts to bend and break versus staying more wide over here. And there's a good reason for it. We want to create power. We want to hit the ball far. Well, if I don't turn my body, which is one of the big motions we have to make the club travel in the backswing, because the more this club travels back, the more time we have to create power in the downswing. If we don't turn and make the club travel back because of our turn, what's going to happen? If this is as far back as my club goes because my body is turning, the rest of it's going to happen because my hands and arms. It's the only way I can get this club anywhere near parallel, not that parallel is some special position, but it's a good reference for a full backswing. If I only turn it back this far, my arms have to travel really far to wind up and create any type of power in the downswing. But what are the compromises? Again, my arms want to get very narrow. Normally my arms want to split and chicken wing behind me. I start losing more depth in this direction. Now there's some players who can get away with it. Look at somebody like Fred Couples. He doesn't turn a massive amount in the backswing, at least not relative to a lot of other tour players, but he gets away with it because he can still kind of reroute the club a little bit in the downswing, and he lets himself come a little bit over the top. He shallows the shaft, but he swings across to the left and he plays a push cut. Well, there's patterns to this game, but for the most part, most of us, when we come over the top, we're coming way over the top, hitting giant pulls, giant slices, poor contact, and for most of us, it's going to throw things out of whack. So we want to have some turn in the backswing, A, because it's going to create power, but B, it's going to let us create power with our body rather than having to do it all with our hands and arms, which again can compromise our arm structure. It can make us lose depth. It can make us get very steep in the downswing. A lot of things that are generally more bad than good. So I'd rather trade it off the other way. I'd rather learn to turn my upper body in the backswing. That way, instead of having a massive John Daly type swing, I could retain some more width in my swing. And that combination of a bigger turn and more width gives me a lot more depth, makes it much easier to shallow. And now I'm in less of a compromised position for the downswing. So I can create the same length swing going back, but now I can do it because I'm turning my body rather than doing it all with my hands and arms. So those are several different markers you can identify your swing with. Does it look like your shoulders are turning? Does it look like your arms are getting narrow? Does it look like you're chicken winging? Does it look like you're losing a lot of depth? Maybe some type of combo. Those are probably good insights that, hey, you might not be turning your upper body very much. Now, when I see people doing that in a lesson, I always tell them, like, all right, let's try and create a bigger turn. And before I even get a chance to explain myself, they'll be like, whoa, I mean, this is as big as I can turn. What do you mean turn more? I'm like, I know. If I didn't turn my lower body, if I just try to twist my upper body back, I couldn't make a full turn either. I would turn just like you do. Because so many players, when they go to the top of their swing, they're just trying to swing their arms, and that pulls their chest in rotation, but their legs are completely stale and their hips are completely stale because of the legs. They're just doing it all with the chest and they're doing it all with the arms, And even me myself, I'm not saying I'm very flexible, but I'm not completely inflexible. Even me myself, this is as far back as I can possibly turn when I don't turn my lower body. You can only stretch against yourself so much. Unless you're a contortionist, you can only stretch so much. But then I tell them, like, look, go to the same position at the top of your swing in terms of how much you can turn, but from there, let me work your legs. Let me get your right leg moving, your left leg moving, aka let me turn your lower body, and all of a sudden when the lower body turns, the upper body has way more range of motion. Because again, I can only stretch so far against myself, but if I liberate myself by turning the lower body, I'm not increasing that stretch, I'm just allowing the lower body to turn, which lets the upper body turn more. So again, most people, there's always exceptions to the rule. Some of us have injuries, some of us are out of shape, whatever it might be, fair enough. But I don't know, 95% of the time, 99% of the time, we have more ability to turn than we think or we give ourselves credit for. We're just not moving our body correctly. So my first piece of advice is if you want to turn the upper body and make a bigger turn, turn the lower body. Again, so many players, when they set up, first will be out of balance. They'll stand too far from the golf ball. They'll have to lean over on their toes, so all their pressure's on their toes over here. Their armpits, if you drew a line down from their armpits, are on their toes. Their pressure's over there. And from there, if you're out of balance, you're just trying to hang in balance. Your body doesn't want to turn, because what would happen if I turned out of balance? When I start moving my body, I'm going to start falling forward. So I'm going to give up my turn just to hang in there. Same thing if I'm back on my heels. Now heels, most people can create a little bit better turn back on their heels, but still, if I'm back out of balance, the last thing I want to do is make a huge turn. I'm just trying to lunge forward and get back over the balls of my feet. And again, I'm compromised if I'm out of balance, but especially on my toes, because I can fall over on my face if I turn in the backswing from there. So make sure you're a good distance from the ball, make sure you're in balance. From there, I say, okay, let's work on unlocking your lower body. Once we are in balance, number one, can we have an exchange here? Meaning, my knees are flexed at address, but can I extend my right leg going back? And can I flex my left leg in the backswing? The more I can exchange that, extending the right and flexing the left in these directions, watch what happens. Even if I didn't do one or the other, if I just did my right leg, it drives my right hip back, and that creates rotation. I just do my left leg, not that I want to just do my left leg, it kicks my hips forward. That might not be very good, but it creates rotation when that hip goes forward this way. And if I have an exchange, my hips can stay pretty centered, and it creates rotation as I go back. So flexing the left, extending the right, which will feel like getting pressure over your left toes and pressure towards your right heel, that exchange will create rotation in the backswing. So that's the first thing I would aim for. I would try and get my left knee to get over my left toes at the top of my swing, not way out past it, but at least to my left toes, and I would get my right leg to extend back. There's other things you can do with your lower body as well, but that's a great starting place because it starts to unlock your hips. I would also allow my left knee, instead of staying out over my toes over here, allow it to release in a little bit in this direction, because when I release my knee, it allows the hips to turn more as well. And then I would just have the sheer intent to turn the hips. Got to start with the legs and the knees, but then after that, try and twist the hips going back. You unlock the lower body, you're going to unlock the upper body. You'd be surprised how much more turn you can get. If you have zero turn with your lower body, you might turn 40, 50, 60 degrees more with your upper body than you currently are. Now, again, if you're already turning somewhat with your lower body, maybe it'll be less than that, but you'd be surprised how much extra turn you can get if you fully use your lower body and you use it in a good manner. After that, now looking at the upper body itself, first you're going to have, again, sheer intent. Can I feel like I'm twisting my upper body away from the target? The second thing I would look at is, as I'm going to the top of my swing, some players will kind of cheat how much they're turning by getting their right arm to move really far back into abduction, meaning they're spreading their arm back, and that makes the shoulder pull back and retract as well. Watch what happens as I go to the top of my swing. I'm going to put my hood up just so you can kind of see my shoulder here. Hopefully I'm not covering my mic too much, and hopefully you guys can hear me, but watch what happens. If I go to the top of my swing and my arm stays in front of me over here, it looks like I have a pretty full turn, but if I start pulling my arm back behind me, I didn't really turn my upper body more. All I did was I started pulling my shoulder and my shoulder blade back, and it gave the appearance of a bigger turn. But don't get it mistaken. Just because I have a bigger range of motion doesn't necessarily mean I turn more. I could have a bigger range of motion, but if my arm starts getting really far behind me, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm in a good position. So word of caution, when you're trying to create a bigger turn with your upper body, don't cheat it by trying to crank the arm and the shoulder blade back. Try and keep your arm in a good position. Make sure it's all done through rotation. Now, there is something aside from rotation that can give us a little bit bigger turn, and that is extension. Extension of our spine. When we set up an address, some players will already be extended with their spine and do all their bending over at their hips. But some of us, more old school players, will flex our knees and we'll have some rounding of our spine and our neck down and forward. Look at somebody like Ben Hogan, Sam Snead, Jack Nicklaus, a lot of old school players. They will round their spine more down and forward this direction. And when we flex our spine, it means we can extend it in the backswing in this direction. Well, watch what happens. At address, my chest is down on the ground, and it is when I turn. But if I start extending, it can create a little bit extra range of motion to the top of my swing, because if I've turned past 90 degrees, extension is starting to create a little bit bigger turn as I go back. So it can unlock a little bit range of motion. That one's not necessarily for everybody, but if you wanted a little bit more out of the top of your swing, that could be helpful. Also, players who tend to the ball really far tend to get really tall in the backswing. That way they can compress in the ground and then push off of it to use as much ground force as they can. So a little extra power in that too. It's not going to make a monumental difference in how much you can turn, but it will make a little bit. Now, here's the specific thing I would do for your upper body. Pay attention to what your head's doing. Again, I'm going to go back to somebody like Jack Nicklaus. He's just the most obvious example, but there's many other players who do this as well. I'd say probably more players than not. If you watch Jack Nicklaus, when he would set up to the golf ball, he would look straight at the golf ball with his head and with his eyes. But right before he took the club back, he would cock his head. He'd be here, and then his head would cock in this direction. That way he was looking underneath his left eye and his right eye was turned away. And then from there, he would turn to the top of his swing. Well, the more your head tilts and turns away from the target, the more you can turn back in this direction. Now, there's a point of diminishing return, because if I start completely looking away from the golf ball, I lose my sense of coordination and I got to come back to it, and I can overturn the backswing as well. But if I at least am able to keep my eyes towards the golf ball, even if it's out of the side of my eyes to my peripheral vision, that's a good reference of saying I've turned my head to unlock my body turn, but not so much that I've overdone it. A good reference point is this. If you were to close your lead left eye, or you were to put an eye patch on, could you still see the golf ball out of your right eye at the top of your swing? Could you still see over the tip of your nose? Could you still see that golf ball? From there, as much as you can tilt and turn your head without losing sight of it, that's a good reference for how much your head can or should tilt and turn in the backswing. Or another reference, if I look at my nose, can I get my nose to point over my right foot in this direction by the top of my swing, not past or not straight at the golf ball? Because again, if it's straight at the ball, I'm going to limit my turn. I start going past, I'm going to lose sight of it. If my nose can go more over my right foot, that's a good reference for, hey, I'm unlocking my body to turn, but I'm not overdoing it. And the reason why it unlocks your turn, if you're curious, is because your head is attached to your neck is part of your spine, and you can only twist your spine so far against itself. If I wanted to turn in the backswing to the right in this direction, the last thing I would do is turn my head to the left. If I twist my neck or my spine to the left, and I'm trying to turn the rest of my spine to the right, I can only turn so far. I'm going to snap my neck. I would have to then start looking away in this direction to allow myself to turn more. So again, wherever you turn your head or your spine, the rest of your spine or your upper body can turn that way as well. Again, the real word of caution is allow yourself to do it, just don't overdo it. Now again, players are going to do this in different manners. Jack Nicklaus, which is probably the easiest way to do it, would set up, he would cock his head in this direction, and he would just keep it there to the top of his swing. Other players are going to turn their upper body until their left shoulder hits their chin in this direction. And then once their shoulder hits their chin, the chin is going to twist the head back, and they're going to allow the head to go back with the chin. However you want to do it, that's up to you. The moral of the story is, if you allow your head to tilt down and twist to the right, that's going to allow you to have a bigger range of motion. And from there, just make sure you're not overdoing it. Make sure you don't lose sight of the golf ball. I call it shark eyes. You'll see players who start overdoing it. They'll start going to the top of their swing, and then all of a sudden, it looks like they're looking back at you when you're standing from down the line, and it kind of freaks you out the first time you see it. So make sure when you're going back, you're not giving people shark eyes back here. Make sure you're still looking somewhat at the golf ball out of the periphery of your lead eye, or out of your trail eye over your nose, however you want to measure it. And again, that's a good reference for allowing your upper body to turn, allowing your head to turn. You do those things, you're going to create a bigger upper body turn. And again, once you create a bigger upper body turn, now you don't need to compromise your arms. Once you fix that, then you can focus on, hey, I can keep my right arm more adducted or pinched more in front of me. I can keep my arms wider. I can keep my arms a little bit lower. Why? Because I don't need all those motions to create a big backswing. I can now get my arms into a better structure, a structure that's going to have more depth and more natural shallowing, which means what? When I have more depth and I have more shallowing, I'm in a much better position to stay down in the shot and rotate in the downswing, because the more I have depth and shallowing, if I stay down and I rotate, that's going to bring the club back on plane and I can swing towards the target. Now we're not standing up, or not taking our eyes off the ball, if you want to call it that in the downswing, because people use different phrases for things. Whatever it is, we're in a position where we don't have to compromise or manipulate our downswing. We can just stay down and turn, which again, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be ideal for most people. Look at somebody like Jack Nicklaus. He gets steep and he has some extension in the downswing. Not everybody is going to follow into models. Again, and I wouldn't teach everybody to follow into models, but most people are going to struggle with either coming too far over the top or getting too steep and having too much early extension or too much tilt, and now their hands get way too active at the bottom. And again, if you can put yourself in a position, you can stack the right dominoes to start minimizing those things or taking it off the table completely. You're going to start making yourself have less timing in your swing, which means you're going to keep more balls in play, hit more good golf shots, and that's kind of what we're here for. So, again, moral of the story is, if you want to turn your upper body more, start with your lower body, make sure you're in balance. Then from there, focus on letting your head tilt and turn. You get all those components right, the upper body can turn, then you can start looking at the rest of your swing and how it affects that.